Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome into Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be, alongside Christine Cupo and Lindsey. I'm Lisa Carlin. The transfer window has officially closed, the second one. We're talking race for the top four in the standings. Some of these big moves that has been made by clubs, by players all across the NWSL. So thanks for hanging with us. Laura, you were adjusting your hair before we got in. You look great, bud. Don't worry.
We talk a lot about my hair, you and I. It's getting long, and the different iterations throughout the years that you decide, hey, I like that style, I don't like that one.
Wait, are we in a grow out right now? Is there a vision?
In a grow out. Look at these sides. They used to be shaved at the beginning of this year.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. You took it so good. I was like, you know what? We're almost at like a full bob, Lori.
I know, that's actually my worst nightmare, for it to be called a bob. And Lisa said that to me like a month. When was it? A week ago for our CBS Assistant game, and I'm like, I don't want to hear you say a bob again.
Okay, fine. It's not a bob.
No, not you.
Yeah. The opposite of a bob. I didn't even have this intel, and I'm like negging Lori now. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna shut up now.
I didn't even pay her to say that, Lori. I didn't even pay Christine to say that. I know I saw a picture of Lori from, what was it, like 10 years ago? I sent it to her. I was like, bring back this hair. What's happening here? It's the best. Christine, it is so good to see you as well. Guys, we're going to have a really fun show today because, of course, this all-star crew, but we got the people joining us on YouTube in the chat. So thank you, everyone, for watching on Galazzo Network, watching on YouTube, listening as a podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And if you do listen as a podcast primarily, I encourage you, come on over to YouTube, see what it's all about. There's a community, there's a chat, there's conversations, but either way, we are happy to have you with us. If you don't know, now you know. Attacking Third are finalists in the People's Choice Podcast Award. Thanks to you, everyone that listens and votes. But we can still use your help. If you voted for us in the last round, check your email because you may be eligible to vote again. See if you have anything from People's Choice Podcast Awards. Click the link. Vote for A3 so we can be the winners. Thank you, everyone. Big moves have happened as of yesterday because, bam, the Iron Gate has shut. The trade window has closed. There were 2 trade transfer windows available in the NWSL. The first one at the start of the season from the end of January through the first week of the NWSL season, March 24th. And then the second one in the summer comes July 1 through August 25th. It just shut yesterday. We saw a couple of rumors flying, some different moves happening. So trades could have happened yesterday that maybe won't even get announced until later this week. So of course, we'll keep you updated on that. But let's talk about some of these trades and transfers that have happened. Winners, losers, all of it. When we think about this most recent trade window, Christine, who was the most improved team due to transfers in the NWSL this summer?
This is so hard because y'all tried to hem me up here. I was like, you know what? Like, you could turn around and just say, like, the low-hanging fruit, but like, thought about it, was like, maybe it could be Ali Sentnor, but like, that's already a full steam ahead team. Like, they don't really need help. Now they're just scarier. So I'm going to go with Washington Spirit. I'm going to go with Sofia Cantore. Because one, I mean, y'all knew I was going to pull her out of my pocket eventually, right? Like, let's keep it a buck.
The Italian queen, bringing out the Italian queen.
I know how talented she is as also Juventina, but that aside, I wasn't sure. This wasn't just an excellent, wonderful, talented player coming from Italy to NWSL. It was a player that's never played outside of Italy, period, which makes it extra challenging. And boom, she bursts onto the scene August 15th, makes her debut goal for Washington Spirit, near immediate impact signing. And Washington Spirit, again, a very, I'd say, more well-rounded squad, but they do need the attacking reinforcements given just the minutes management that has to now occur for Trinity. And the way that she's integrated into the squad so far has been perfetto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A pretty immediate impact from Cantore, which I think is really difficult to do, never playing in the NWSL before, never really playing outside of Italy.
1000%. Lisa, 2 seasons ago, she wasn't even considered a pro footballer.
Mm-hmm. How cool is that?
It's insane. I just got goosebumps. It makes me deeply proud of how far they've come and how far they still can go. But just to see Italian boots on American soil and thriving is a remarkable bit of PR for Serie A Feminile.
Yeah, even when you look at Washington Spirit, because I keyed in on Cantore and Washington as well for one of the most improved teams, but I looked more so at Washington and how they were able to improve because they lost some players as well during this summer break. They did return some, but week 13, Washington Spirit was 4th place in the standings and like below points on all the 3 teams that were ahead of them. Now they have jumped to 2nd place after these last couple of weeks, picking up consistent points. And I think Cantore just adds a different wrinkle of what Washington can do in their attack because she's a little bit unpredictable on the ball. She wants to set up her teammates as well. And opposition really hasn't figured her out yet. I think we could see maybe a little dip in performance just because opposition are now seeing more tape on Cantore, but she'll pick it right back up. I'm not worried about that one.
She can finish from a distance in the box. She's really agile, which makes her a little bit slippery when she's trying to cut through defenders. You haven't even seen the best of her yet. That's what makes me excited.
Oh, Christine dropping bombs. Well, we haven't seen the best of them yet. All right, Lori, you're looking quite skeptical over there. Who's your most improved team?
I'm smiling big because Cupo and I haven't even chatted since really at length since the Euros about Cantore and about the Italians in general, because prior to the Euros, you and I were talking and we were like, watch this space. The Italians are going to make this run. They're going to make themselves known in this Euros. And they did that. And Cantore was one of those players as well.
Everybody thought we were crazy, Lori. What now?
Look at us. Look at us. No. Okay. So you and I are on the same page. Cupo I had Sitnor for Kansas City and also Cantore, but I lean towards Washington and Cantore just given for really the exact same reasons, because while I think the Sitnor trade is huge, given that Vanessa DiBernardo is on maternity leave, that's a much bigger loss than I think a lot of people anticipated and will continue to feel throughout the rest of the season and while she's on that maternity leave. But I think Sitnor only sets them up for success immediately and for the future as well. And I think she's going to give a different wrinkle. But however, for a Washington team that this year have conceded a lot more goals, Ashley Hatch is on maternity leave. So they needed to add another piece. And they're just now under Adrian Gonzalez since the international break, I feel like are starting to catch form again and a consistency that they really haven't had much of this season. And then you add in obviously Trinity Rodman to that mix and getting her first start this past weekend. But all the things that Cupo just said, I would tend to totally agree with, in the fact that Cantore actually is very, in my opinion, a very complete, even though there's always another ceiling given her age, but she's a complete forward. She can play back to goal. We saw those attributes in their game against Bay FC. She can also threaten in behind. So it is difficult for her to be pinned down just in that regard. And I think that's what's allowed her to come in and make her presence felt and feel comfortable within this league, because she has a lot of different attributes that blend well with her other teammates.
So comment from someone joining us on YouTube. Kevin Cox says he's a Spirit fan and says that he wanted Jackie Lizbeth Ovalle for Washington Spirit. Instead, it was Sofia Cantore that came in, and Cantore has outperformed expectations. He's happy now with what Cantore has brought to Washington Spirit, but he wonders who's better, Cantore, Lori, or Ovalle?
I don't know if like there's a comparison really. I mean, they're different players. I think both teams got the player that's going to suit what they need. Orlando going to, or Ovalle going to Orlando, and then Cantore and what they need, her playing more of like a central role who can also run the channels, where I feel like Ovalle typically might play more on the wing for Orlando and then be able to come inside. So it's like, listen, I love comparing players and it's fun just to like look at how they'll fit in, but I don't know if you can actually compare these two players in terms of their skill set side to side.
You can't. No, like that's an absolutely wild request. And I actually appreciate Lori more for being like, sure, I'll try to tackle this. They're very different and very different asks of them both. Elite finishers. And nobody's going to say that La Maga doesn't have like the most lethal left boot. But when you're comparing both of them, they're both ending up, I think, in systems that suit them far better than anywhere else they could have gone.
I think that's the beauty of the NWSL right now, and having all these trades and transfers available. It's really teams going out saying this is a style that we want to play and execute, and this is exactly the profile of player that we want to get in, whether it's first-year players coming into the program or transfers and trades. As I love Lizbeth Jackie Ovalle and what she does on the pitch. I am very intrigued to see how she transitions into the NWSL with Orlando. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for her to get into the game, get into the mix, and see how Orlando wants to play. Okay, so those were teams, Washington, Kansas City with Cantore and Cantore, who did really well. We're pleased with their performance in this transfer window, but who should have done more, Lori? Who did not make enough noise? What team did you need to see more from?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I think you could point to there's a lot of teams that could potentially do more, right? Given that their ambition to get themselves not only in the playoff position, but really threaten to get into those top four so you can have home field advantage. But here's the thing. I have a soft spot for Portland. They are a team that I have been thrilled for this entire season, given that they lost Becky, they lost Sink. At the beginning of the year, they were like, who are we? We don't know our identity. We're a super young team. And it was going to come down to the 3 in the middle /4 because Moultrie's been kind of playing in that wing hybrid midfield role. So I have a soft spot for this Portland team. I love the way that they play. But given maternity leave, injuries to that front line, even though they picked up Julie DeFore, and then I think, is it Layla
Harbert?
Yeah, thank you. From Arsenal.
Come on, you gotta.
Exactly. But I would have liked them to see them do one more, like something on the front line, just to give them, because Raylan Turner is really coming into her own, but they lose Kaya Hanks as well to a season-ending injury back in June. There's just like, I wish they had like one more piece in the attack, because I think that would solidify them through this stretch, latter part of the season.
Yeah, I think we could shout any team in this one. I'm okay with Portland not doing that, because I think they've got the rookie in Torden that's finding.
Oh yeah, I love Torden.
And getting more and more confident and courageous in the ways that she's able to find different space for Portland. I think that if you brought someone else in, it maybe would have put a little bit of a shadow on what Portland's doing there. And they're sitting pretty, Lori.
They're coming together.
Oh, no, they are 100%. But with the ambition of that club, that's why I say this.
Okay.
And just them. Oh, and don't get me wrong, Torden, we've been seeing her praises all along. Yeah. I really enjoy this team. That's why I have the soft spot. But I think when you think about one more threat in the attack consistently, that can score goals for you. That's just where I would like to see, given where they put themselves right now in the position, because they're 5th, right? So they're sitting right outside the top 4.
Yeah. I like that you went with a team that's like at the top and like they're already good. How can they just get even better? Guys, I think that North Carolina Courage just needs to bring in anyone and anything. They haven't made a single move since last off season. They haven't brought in a single player, and there's been a lot going on, right, with Sean Nahas being let go from the club. They have an interim back in the mix with Nathan Thackeray, but North Carolina Courage has not been above the playoff line since week 1. They have dropped to so low in the standings. They're in 9th. They're just absolutely treading water. And to not even entertain bringing in different players, having an intra-league transfer, bring in someone else from different NWSL.
Bring in like an elite proven goal scorer. Anything.
Anything, Christine. Yeah. I think anything in this mix in the roster. It doesn't have to be a superstar. It doesn't have to be someone that's going to put 10 goals in the next 10 weeks. It just has to be someone to add a little different flair to the training, to the games, to whatever North Carolina is trying to do. And they have severely disappointed. I think, Lori, we could somewhat compare North Carolina to Portland in terms of the pedigree in the NWSL and the history of a club of always wanting to be at the top, being in playoffs, contending for a championship. And this North Carolina team is not that right now with the lack of moves that they've made.
Yeah, no, bang on. I can't disagree with you. I'm
like,
sorry. I mean, I don't want to hold like a mid-season North Carolina Courage funeral, but like spiritually, I'm sad for them.
I'm sad
because they are that girl historically. So you want to see North Carolina thrive and sort of right the ship. It just hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks they figure something out, because they desperately have to. It's just dire at this point, with the termination of Sean Nahas and Nathan Thackeray taking over. See, they're trying, which I think that's kind of like the heartbreaking part of it, where it's like, you kind of hope that there'd be some change immediately. When there's not, it's time to start knocking on doors and figuring out what people you need to fill certain roles, because they have not done that. I don't want to be super boring, but apparently, like, Lori and I are sharing a brain today. I was going for Portland mostly because, and here's where I enter with my nerd shit. They lost 44.2% of their minutes from last season. That's an exodus. That's the lowest in the league. And at one point, they had only 21 like fit players rostered, getting hit with additional injuries. Having been on Portland games back to back this week, maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid, but they've been so much more improved. And even looking at that earlier transfer of Dana Castellanos, who we saw underperforming for Bay, talked to Rob Gale a bit about what's been different, what's been changing. And he kind of said, probably the most obvious thing when you're looking at players and being coached is that Dana hadn't been really properly coached, because she has such good innate quality that he's been working more closely one-on-one with her, with Liv Moultrie. And you're seeing it week over week now, the improvements, which I think is positive, but I still think that they're a little thin. They could use a little bit more depth. But the other side that I'll add now, not that you've asked, Lisa, but I'll say, what are you doing with the Ali Senor money, bro?
Yeah.
Like, hit the gas, like spend, baby. Come on. Like, what are we doing?
Absolutely. But Utah being so, I mean, we could say that about Chicago too, being
I
at the
know.
bottom of
And
the
you know what?
heel in
That
football.
was my third on the list, was like, I have to spiritually shout for Sandra in terms of just Chicago. Come on. You can't really rely on record making like hat tricks every game. That's not gonna cut it. Or can you? Ludmila, what you doing, girl?
Okay, so because the transfer window officially closed yesterday, if any announcements or news comes out, of course, we'll let you know. But there is a new rule this year in the NWSL. Intra-league trades can happen, meaning different clubs within the NWSL can send players back and forth. And that can happen up until October 9th. So right before the playoffs start, before the rosters freeze. So if there's going to be a trade that is a win-win, benefits both sides, Lori, who would you like to see go where and why?
Okay, well, I only did one-way trade, so it'd have to be money going the other. But
Okay.
This is where I'm laughing about your North Carolina. I was going to intervene and be like, well, just wait for my hypothetical trade, because Gotham fans are going to be pissed at me. And but my and I thought about this for a while before this show, but I was thinking Esther to North Carolina. And so Gotham fans, I know it's not going to happen, but it's just fun to think about. And the reason why is because we're all talking about North Carolina, a striker, and somebody that could play off of Jaden Shaw, somebody that could play off of Sanchez. And while, yes, Esther is not like that threatening in behind, always number 9, we saw it in the Euros. She does offer that ability. We see it week in and week out with Gotham, but she also has an uncanny ability to bring others into the game. And to me, she operates in a way that provides space for herself and for others like no other player in the NWSL does, in my opinion. And again, you show that with a possession-based team for Spain, and that's how she operated. And so that is, I'm not saying North Carolina is Spain, right? But they are a possession-based team.
Absolutely.
That a lot of times are trying to work the ball, and that makes it difficult when you're playing against teams that are just going to sit back. So she can be one of those players that's like, pushing the center backs on the opposition forward. And yeah, so anyway, this is going to be clipped and Gotham's going to be coming after me because they're like, get away. But
Lori said, sell your golden boot, Leah.
Exactly.
Yes, seriously.
Get her out of the big city. She's out of there. Anyway, it's going to have to be money because I didn't have anybody going the other way.
That's fine. We'll take the money in that one. I think that Esther could go anywhere and make a team better.
For sure.
So Lori's like going for the low-hanging fruit. But take me, Coach Lori, to North Carolina. if they get Esther, where is she fitting? Like, how are they playing with Manaka up top? Like, what kind of formation would she thrive in at the Courage?
Yeah, I would say some like a 4-3-3, right?
Okay.
And she's playing as a center forward. She's much like they do utilize her at Gotham, and she can drop in. And then when they start to make subs, she can also play as an attacking midfielder if they bring somebody into the number 9 position, depending. But yeah, she's playing as that center forward. She's going about her business, tapping in goals like she's unfazed, and then also just making everybody better around her. So listen, this is like, I think, a win-win for everybody.
Gotham fans, her name is Lori Lindsey.
No, the Gotham fans are like, you better be giving us just like the entire North Carolina team.
What about Jaden Shaw? I think she could go to Gotham. They could use a 10 like Shaw to connect their lines a little bit more, be a bit more of a creative force deeper. I mean, Esther and Shaw. Well, I guess Esther is gone.
Yeah, sure. Right. But that's what could be happening at North Carolina. I think then the problem is Esther's gone and Jaden Shaw goes to a Gotham. Then you now have the same problem. Esther's gone.
Oh, girl can dream. I like that trade. All right, Christine, what trade did your eyes go wide for?
So, like,
imaginary?
Yeah, so mine isn't all that realistic. So maybe I'm just like manifesting for the future, but like, maybe Yūka Momiki to North Carolina Courage, because she brings a whole lot of creativity in that midfield. She's a playmaker. She's kind of her name's been floated around NWSL in the past. I love me a good Japanese midfielder. And unfortunately, she just signed with Everton in July. But I would say, I don't know, I'd knock on her door anyway, because who wouldn't run to NWSL? I'm just saying.
Well, Christine, you have definitely found a loophole in the rules, because that is not possible anymore. It can only be intra-league trades and transfers that happen.
Too late. Oh, that's right.
I like it. I like the shout.
You know what?
I like it a lot, because North Carolina Courage could use, I think, without Narumi in the midfield this year for the Courage, it's been a bigger loss than a lot.
When my brain went there, like I was like, she's really technical. She's super creative. All right. Well, you know what? In my fantasy draft, that definitely can still take place. She's there. Okay. Steal her away.
There are no rules here. We do whatever we want. Guys, I'm going to go Racing Louisville. They need to get some players that can just add a little bit more to their attack. And I went a little bit more realistic than either of you with your potential imaginary trades. I'm going to go Payton Linnehan from Portland Thorns to Racing Louisville. I think that she is a player. I really like this. I like this one. I thought about this very realistically versus.
Oh, yes, what is reality?
I'm firmly in it, unfortunately. But I think that adding another mix into the attacking line for Louisville could just help them take another step forward or two. I mean, Racing Louisville is not going to win the Shield, right? I think the shot of them winning the championship is a little bit of a longer shot, but they can get into playoffs. They can make a run. They can play spoiler to other teams. And to do that, I think if they grab someone like Payton Linnehan, even I was looking at the Portland roster, like Alexa Spanstra, like that caliber of player to just add a different wrinkle in the attack would be pretty fun for Louisville and possible. Definitely on the table.
Well, especially in that wing position, right? Where they could add just even more depth to Louisville. Yeah. But watch this space with them, because I love what they're doing. Big win over the weekend versus San Diego. Also, I think, too, it just proves, like with Bev Yanez, she has now a couple years as a head coach. She's feeling more confident, stronger voice, I'm sure, within the team in the locker room. And so it just like proves that it's about experience within this league. Absolutely. We talk about the adjustment of international players coming over, but same as coaches, right? Just really understanding what your strengths are and then be able to communicate that even more effectively to your team. So love what they're doing, but I like that Payton Linnehan shout.
Absolutely. Racing Louisville, they're in 7th place right now, above that playoff line, 25 points. They're sitting pretty, but they're not quite in the top 4. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're talking NWSL top 4, which teams are gunning for that home field advantage in the playoffs. Stick with us. Welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. The NWSL standings are as tight as ever, as tight as could be. Aside from Kansas City, that are just continuing to create a gap for themselves at the top, there are only 6 points separating second place through 7th place in the NWSL table. And every team is gunning for a top 4 spot for the playoffs. That means home field advantage, especially if you're in that top 1 or 2 all the way through to the semis. You have secured a home field advantage. So we're going to have some fun here on A3 with Christine and Lori, and we're going to predict who is going to finish and where they're going to finish and why for those top 4 spots with only 9 matches to go. It is kind of crazy to think about this, but Lori, hit us. Who are your top 4 at the end of the regular season?
Yeah, so pretty much exactly how they are now, but I'm adding Portland into the top 4. So it'll go Kansas City. Where's my standings? I almost lost it. Kansas City, Washington Spirit, San Diego, and then I'm bumping Portland up to that 4 spot. Not because I don't believe in Orlando. In fact, I really do. But I do think with the Barbara Banda news, her being out for the rest of the season, I think that is not only from a tactical aspect, a huge adjustment, but from an emotional and psychological sense, because it's much like Kansas City with Shawinga. You just know deep down that even if things aren't going your way, you have this player that can dig you out of holes in ways just because of their sheer talent alone. And Barbara provided that. She provided that, I believe, to Amarta. She provides that to the rest of the team. And I think sometimes in the midst of a season, plus with them having to deal with CONCACAF Champions Cup, and the amount of games they have, that becomes that much more challenging. And Ovalle, it's unclear exactly with all the stuff, visas and getting her over when she's coming. So it's not that, again, I don't believe in Orlando that they could stay up there. I just think they haven't been getting the results. Those fine margins aren't going their way. And I think for Portland, the focus has to be to get into that top 4 because of how good outside this Kansas City game this past weekend they've been at home. They'll at least want 1 game in front of their fans in the playoffs.
Ditto. I have the same top 4 exactly as you have, Lori, with Kansas City, San Diego, Washington, and Portland. Orlando, to me, are out. They haven't picked up a win since June 13th.
Yeah.
Guys, they have not picked up a win since June 13th, and the hits keep coming with the injury to Barbara Banda. I don't think that we can overstate the CONCACAF W Champions Cup and having a dual competition alongside the regular season as much as anyone else. And you could say the same for Washington. They're also in the CONCACAF W Champions Cup, but they have a coach that understands how to play in multiple competitions at once.
And also they're starting to get more players back, right? They were hit hard at the beginning, and now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Washington has more depth, frankly, than Orlando has. And I also looked at Orlando's upcoming schedule, and they play a lot of spoiler teams to close out this season. They play San Diego, they play Portland, they play Washington, they play Seattle, and they play Chicago. And Chicago, to me, is a team that's just going to go on a little bit of a run, taking points off teams and disrupting them, causing chaos, whatever that may be. So Portland is going to rise above. They're going to have that home field advantage that they're gunning for, and Orlando drops out for me. Christine, what about you?
Yeah, I love to lob me a good chaos grenade, but very unfortunately, this is the one exercise that I did approach with a root in reality. So I have the same as both of you guys for a lot of the same reasons. The lack in diversity in goal scoring for Orlando, for me, I'd say the disappointing entrance to the league for Prisca Chilufya, who I had really high hopes for in terms of just acclimating faster, considering Barbara Banda was already there. When the bulk of your goals have come from Banda and now she's removed from the equation, I also weighted that with, I think, the realistic assumption that we probably won't see Ovalle till the end of September. Which kind of eats into their season significantly when the remainder of the Orlando roster really have only put in maybe a singular goal each outside of Marta. I just don't have, I hope, because hell, I like being right. When I came into the season, my preseason predictions were really high for Orlando. I love the squad. I think they've got a lot of moxie, but it's going to take more than that right now. And I have been favoring Portland quite a bit, seeing them come into form and what they've been doing week over week, the improvements versus last season, which was for me far more dire because you got a lot of what the game plan was from Coach Rob Gale, but you weren't seeing the implementation and the yield of any of it. It wasn't coming together as quickly. So for me, Washington Spirit are really rock solid, and then Kansas City are just frightening.
Washington, of those teams in 2nd through 7th place, the Spirit are the only team that have not suffered a loss in their last 5 matches. It is up and up for the Washington Spirit. So we're talking about these top 4 spots that do secure home field advantage. Coming down to like the details of the standings, is there, Lori, really any big difference between, outside of winning the Shield in 1st place, but like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? Or no, those teams are just happy to stay above that 5th place line and be a home field team?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you're thinking home field advantage. But I think anytime, the way that I look at the playoffs, it feels like a brand new season. So you could have this wonderful season, and then playoffs time, it is like, clean slate, here we go, get down to business. And so I think get home field advantage, especially when you think about all the teams that we were just talking about, right? Playing at home, Kansas City with their Washington at Audi Field, Portland at Providence Park. Yeah, Portland at Providence Park. So all of these teams, you're just like, okay, here we go. So I think, yes, there is a difference to get in those top 4. But I think anything goes at that point in time.
I think that of these teams, it means the most for Kansas City and Portland to play at home. But even when we look outside of that, like Seattle Reign, they're fine on the road.
Yeah,
fine on the road.
Washington, they've been good. Up until they lost to Portland back in June, they were undefeated.
Yeah, there are some teams I think where it matters a little bit more than others about a home field advantage. Of course, you always want that, right? As a team and as a group, you're gunning for home field advantage. You're gunning for all of that. But Christine, when you look at these standings, are there teams maybe that there's a little bit more importance of not going on the road and taking on certain competition versus wanting to be at home?
Sorry, I think I'm dumb. My 2 brain cells just click-clack together, and we're like, what did you just ask me? So home field advantage is what you're asking me, yes?
Like the importance of it. And to some teams, does it not matter as much?
English is my first language, but not always. Yeah, I think that for teams like, goddamn, if you've never been to a home match for Portland, that is an experience. You should do that. Like that entire fan base is loud and rowdy and vibrant. I feel like that makes a huge difference for them. And it's showed this season too for Portland, how beneficial that is. I think Kansas City are another one of them. Like, come on, Teal Man. Like, but I feel like there's less of an impact for them. I think that there's a lot more history there for Portland. I think that definitely matters. Spirit fans, I gotta shout them out. They're a rowdy bunch too. I feel like all of these teams at the top of the table right now have very like 12th man behavior.
Yeah. And even the teams that perhaps are fine on the road, like Washington, Seattle, I think is actually great on the road. You also have to take into account the travel that comes into this. These teams are going coast to coast. And you look at a team like Racing Louisville, that it's a little difficult to get flights.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a chief complaint for Rob Gale lately is like, that travel to especially the southeast coast is brutal on them. And like you're damn right. You're going basically corner to corner on our map. Yes, see, I'm American and I know where our states are. Go me, higher education. But it's brutal. And especially him remarking the last couple of weeks, they're like, we couldn't get charter flights, which is kind of an extra kick in the butt. Like, Lori, like you've done that. Like, what is that like when you can have the benefit? And like, I'm not even saying this in jest of like a charter flight versus like now boarding like group 5 on Delta. Like, what is that? How much does that help as a player knowing that you have that layer?
Yeah, huge. Whether it's depending on when you take off or if it's right after a game, you can make up time, right? Or it's vice versa, you get a little bit more sleep, you have a little bit more luxury, but then just the sheer charter itself is so much more luxurious than just commercial planes. So yeah, goodness. I mean, even with commentating, right? We'll go to the West Coast and come back immediately, and you just have to like try to regroup. But you have to be on, but I'm also not running around for 90 minutes either, for sure. And so, yeah, it's really challenging. But then you add that through 9 to 10 month season now. And so it's like, to me, it's not even just like, okay, there's a couple trips that you're going to the Southeast if you're Portland. It's just a cumulative load throughout the season, physically, psychologically. So yeah, it's very tough. I think it was Angel City at the beginning of the year when we had them for Prime too, on the Friday night game. It was what are they talking about? They actually came out, they stayed on the East Coast, because it allowed them to just, and that's not like uncommon, right? But they did a lot of research about going from west to east. And so they went from Orlando, and even though the game wasn't going to be till the next weekend, they just stayed instead of going back and taking 2 legs before that Friday night game, because it was just going to be so much more of a toll. And to that point, at the beginning of the season, it was like, let's limit the exhaustion early on that will add later on. So
yeah, it's actually so smart that they did that. And again, not every team has the luxury of doing that. In the instance of Portland, the chief complaints were the travel and the lack of quorum to be able to have full proper training sessions ahead of those matches, especially when you're trying to eat up the time difference. So yeah, it's kind of insane. Hopefully we move to a league where there's more of a gold standard in terms of how travel is conducted, especially coast to coast.
Absolutely. I mean, even Racing Louisville, we just talked to Emma Sears after their game this past weekend. They hadn't been home in a month. They had not been home in a month. Now, Racing Louisville has used that to their advantage over the last couple of weeks, picking up 15 goals on the road, 4 wins, 3 draws, and just 2 losses in their road game. So maybe in terms of playoffs and situations, Racing Louisville gunning for the postseason, and I'm right there cheering for them. I hope they can get this done. But
come on,
feels
Bev.
like it would benefit Racing Louisville to not be in the top 4 and have a little bit more underdog mentality of, all right, let's hit the road. Like, we're going to be okay, even in our first playoff appearance, if we have to go to Audi or Providence Park.
Buddy, I want them to make playoffs so bad. It's like I am a small investor in this franchise. Having had their team so many times last season, I also just want to be on the coach's call for when like Bev realizes that like they have in fact made playoffs, because that will fuel me for years. Whatever that pep talk is, I know it's going to be outstanding. She's just one of the best.
They probably will. So Louisville sitting 7th right now, 25 points. But look at their upcoming schedule. They are home for a majority of it, but Houston, Portland, Seattle, Utah, Angel City, North Carolina, Chicago, Gotham Bay. Like, these are beatable teams. Absolutely, for Racing Louisville to stay above the playoff line. They have like arguably an easy schedule to end the year. Arguably. No game is easy and no team is easy, but not looking bad for Louisville.
No, especially when you think too, Cupo, like Lauren Millay has been such an integral part to their team, but Janine Sonis had to move back into that position. So I don't know. I think it just really shows belief and a togetherness. Really takes you a long ways in this league, but everywhere, right? Just like a real like connection to be like, this is the goal at hand. This is what we're trying to do. And I feel like you see that. And everybody's just raising their game now.
With this Louisville team.
I mean, eventually I'll slow down enough to say Louisville properly, but I have a New York mouth. It doesn't adapt that quickly.
We'll work on the Louisville. Okay, so we're all in agreement that it's going to be Kansas City, Washington, San Diego, and then Portland up there. When we look at the other teams that are potentially in these top right now, Gotham, Seattle, Racing Louisville, and Orlando, did they stay at the top of the table? Take a look at the standings, because that's currently right now who's in the top 8. Gotham, Louisville, Seattle, Orlando. That would be like our 4 through 8 if we jump Portland up. Is that what remains, Lori, at the end of the season for the postseason?
Yeah, I do think so. I think there's going to be movement within this, but I do think so. But goodness, I kind of laughing to myself when I'm saying this because it's just like, who knows also?
Who knows?
Like, it's just so bananas half the time. And with how tight it is, it's just going to come down. Sometimes it's just about getting a little bit of luck on your side too and starting to catch a little bit of fire. So I can see Gotham, given that they've had a history of being winning a couple years ago, then you can't understate what that just understanding of what it takes to win in this league does for you, especially when it comes down to these tight moments. So I can see Gotham moving and starting to catch a little bit of fire. They have a huge game against Orlando that could ignite that.
I'm not convinced on Gotham yet. I'm not.
That's fair.
Convinced. I needed after
From the
this
actual
summer
performances,
break.
I think that's totally fair. I'm kind of going off of what they've done in the past and with the core group that they have. But I think that's a totally fair comment. I'm not totally convinced that North Carolina is not done either and that they can't sneak in, but I think they're going to have to turn some things around and start to collect points. But other than that, I would say I think this looks fairly close with movement within those top 8.
Yeah, a lot of movement still to come just because it's so tight. Absolutely. Even you look at like Portland and Seattle, they're tied on 26 points. Louisville is just 1 point behind them at 25. Like, this is one of the most exciting points of the season based on the table, how tight it is, how much movement is still to come because there's still 9 match days left. Like, that's a lot. We are talking playoffs. We're talking the Shield. We're talking who's going to be top 4. But guys, there's still 9 weeks left.
I want to know what decision day is going to look like. That's going to be bananas. I hope there's so much on the line for that day. Just for our sake.
Absolutely. It's going to be so fun. You'll get all of the scenarios here at Attacking Third. We'll keep you up to date on what's happening, the moves, and as we do inch closer to decision day, what actually happens. And what is at stake for these teams. But trade window is closed. If any more announcement comes out, we'll keep you up to date. Christine, Lori, this was a good one today, guys. Thanks for hanging with me. Did you have fun, Christine?
Yes, I've been smiling ear to ear this whole entire episode. I don't just do that naturally. I usually have my RBF. So thank you guys.
Glad we could crack you out.
I like your interaction with the fans. It's so much fun for me just to see you coming in.
Absolutely.
I want you guys to note that I have a more stable laptop platform today, so you don't get my cat meme bouncing in between while I'm
If you listen just as a pod, if you're just on Galazzo Network, thank you. We're happy to have you. But if you want to chat with Christine, come to YouTube. She's always in the comments. She's always in the chat, joining the conversation. Thanks, everyone, so much for hanging with us today to talk about everything trades and the top 4 in the standings. Attacking Third's going to be back on Thursday. It'll be J-Mac, McCall, MZ7, and myself on the show, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, previewing Week 18 NWSL action. Thanks, everyone, so much for hanging with us. For Christine, Lori, and Mark, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.